Hello, hello, hello. I'm popping on a minute early because I'm never quite sure whether we're going to be live or whether it's going to mess me about. It has not messed me about. I think we're live. So welcome, 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 whether you are watching live or on the record. It's a funny time of day, this 6 p.m. in the UK. Some people really love this time. I go on a lot of live calls with communities that I'm involved with at this sort of time because it kind of overlaps really well with those who are based in the States because it's kind of morning for them. The lady who helps me with some of my work is based in the States. So at this time of day, it is 10 a.m. for her. So I thought it would be a good idea, end of your working day, beginning of your working day, to be here at 6 p.m. And we are here to talk about hormones. Surprise, surprise. That's literally all I talk about. Specifically a little bit about HRT, but I'm just going to give people a little chance to come on if they are coming on. Bear with me if I look at my phone. It's because I can't actually see anything on here on the big computer, on the big laptop, because for some reason it doesn't show me reactions. So I've no idea who's here, so I go on my phone in case anybody has anything to say to me. So it's 6 o'clock now, exactly the time I said I'd be here. And if you are here, if you're here right now live, please start tapping your little questions away before I start talking, because I'd really like you to ask me your questions about HRT, about your concerns, about your worries. And I'm going to remind you in a minute. I've got a couple of notes to remind me on my screen, to remind me of what I want to say to you, because I'm so passionate about my topic, I tend to go off on a tangent, so I need to keep myself focused. Otherwise, if anybody else watching this has a neurospicy brain, you will know it is so easy just to swim around the topic and never quite get to the point. So I have to keep myself very focused. It's a challenge, but you know, I love a challenge. So I'm pleased that you're here, and I will do my best to be as focused as I can. Hopefully, if you're watching this on the record, it has been recorded effectively for you. And again, even if you're watching this on record, please tippy tappy, put your little questions on there, and I will pop in later and do my best to answer them. Obviously, I can't give lots of detail in a post, but I'll do my best to give you something to take away with you. So, in terms of what we're going to do today, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about why we are where we are, sort of why you might be watching me today. A little bit about the risks and benefits and all the good things about HRT and other elements of helping us to feel good in menopause. Not in a huge amount of detail, because the main reason I'm here is so that you can ask me your questions. That is the most helpful thing for me to be able to help you, and the most helpful thing for you, for me to help you. So I tend to do less talking on these sorts of events and allow time for people to ask questions. So tippy tappy, please, tippy tappy your questions, and I will do my best to look at them on my phone or on this screen if I can. Who knows what will happen? It's so fickle. It's just so fickle. The screen version, I'll click away a little bit and see if I can see things coming up, but at the moment I can't really see anything. I'm also going to introduce something to you at the end of this live, so hang around at the end, hang around until the end, because I want to introduce something new to you. Bear with, just while I can see a few of you are here. So don't forget to pop your questions on. I shall continue on now that we're past 6 o'clock. In case you don't know, oh, Kirsty Ann, I see you. I'll save you for later. In case you don't know, my name is Jane Pangborn. Welcome, welcome, welcome. In case you don't know, I help remove the fear and confusion around menopause and HRT so that you can live the life you planned and plan the life you want. I totally love my job. Most of the time, all I talk about is uteruses, vaginas, periods, all the things. So nothing is too much information for me to talk about. Nothing is too over the top. I will literally talk about anything if it's about your gynae health. So feel free to ask me anything. If you don't know who I am, if you've not seen the way I roll before, I'm no fluff, no nonsense. I know my stuff. I'll give you the information you need. I just want you to feel well. It's as simple as that. I've done it. I'm nothing special. I'm no more special than you. If I can do it, and I've been doing this for a very, very long time, then you can do it for yourself. I know you can. And I'll be talking to you a bit more about that later. So today we're going to talk about how to go from what the hell is happening to my body to acknowledging that our hormones are our heroes. Love my hormones. Even though, by the way, I had a hysterectomy in 2022, full hysterectomy. Hands up if you're in the hysterectomy club. Then I still love hormones. You know, hormones are here to help us. They're here to keep us healthy. And so adding in your hormones, adding them back when you've had a hysterectomy is so important, as well as when you're going through perimenopause. Sorry, my eyelashes are falling out, can't see. So by the end of this little live, you'll have a few practical steps on that you can use straight away, but most importantly, you'll have the opportunity to ask me anything you want to ask me. Obviously, not like, what's the price of a bottle of milk? That's not, I can't answer that because I just don't know stuff like that. I don't retain that information. Anything about your hormones, obviously. When you've asked me your questions, I'll do my best to answer them as succinctly as I can. Clearly, I can't do an individual consultation on here, but I'll do the best I can to give you something to move you forward. Then, if you want to explore deeper support and more individual guidance with me, I'll show you how you can access that. So, let's start from the beginning. What's the problem? You're here because menopause feels like a massive minefield. Believe me, I know, I've been there. Not recently, because obviously got my shit together. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, or I'd be pretty rubbish at doing what I'm doing. But I was perimenopausal first of all, at the beginning of perimenopause when I was 37. I'm now 58, so that was an awfully long time ago. Most people think it's too young in your 30s to be perimenopausal. It absolutely isn't. I thought it was too young. I had no idea what was going on in my 30s. And so that's a starting point where we don't even know when it's supposed to start. That becomes part of the bigger confusion and minefield. And there's so much confusing advice around everywhere. And believe me, I have been in the places online where it literally gives me palpitations just being in there. So I've had to leave all those groups because I can't even tell you how bad some of the advice is in there. And ultimately, it's not helpful to make you frightened of your hormones. So many people will tell you that your hormones are bad for you, your hormones are going to give you cancer, your hormones are going to make things worse. That is not true. That is not true. That is not true. Please comment below if you think that that's true, or if you've been told that and you now know better. I'm happy to tackle the questions. It's just not fair for you to be told scary stuff that isn't based on fact. Yeah, there's scary stuff out there that's based on fact, but we always find a way around the scary stuff, and I'm happy to address things like that head on. I'm digressing again, by the way, so I'm going to look at my notes to keep me on target because my brain is just wanting to go off on a tangent. So much to tell you. You're also being kind of taken off track from feeling better by experiencing symptoms that don't make sense to you. And often we end up with those symptoms that we just absorb and we think are part of us. I'll give you an example, and I do use this example quite a lot, so I'm sorry if you've already heard it, but it's a really good example. I have a couple of clients recently where this has happened again. This happens quite a lot, where one of the questions I asked in a program we were doing was, what do you do about your anxiety? And this particular lady said, oh, I've been anxious all my life. I've taken antidepressants for most of my adult life. And I said, okay, fine. And I said, just talk me through the actual specifics of that. And this lovely lady said, well, and she was about 45. So she said, well, I suppose if I think about it, I've probably only been taking antidepressants for about 8 years. So I said, okay, so you were probably about 37, maybe 38 when you started taking them. So not most of your adult life. And she said, no. And I said, so possibly that's when you were becoming perimenopausal and that's when your anxiety hit. I said, how were you before that? Did you struggle with anxiety before that age? No, actually, I didn't. But then I've been on antidepressants ever since and I don't really know any different now. And so that person had absorbed the fact. My Google doorbell is just going off, telling me somebody's at the door. We'll just ignore that. So you've absorbed the fact that has become part of you, and we do this a lot. We find symptoms that don't make sense. We don't really know what to do with them. And we're kind of frightened of taking hormones because we think the hormones are causing the problem. So why would we take more hormones? And then that becomes who you are. So you become, I'm an anxious person, or I'm an angry person, or, oh, I always have a low mood. Oh yeah, I always have dry skin. But there's no reason to think that you have to be stuck with these symptoms. So it's important to dig into the detail of what's actually been going on. When did it start? Where are you now? What's kind of happened in the middle? And that's where I come in usually. Importantly, feeling dismissed and unsupported is often a big stress and a big worry for a lot of people. So you're frightened to go to the doctor because when you do go to the doctor says, oh, it's fine. Everybody goes through it. Go away. Perhaps not that meanly, but you get the drift. And so all of these things mean that you're now in this state of huge confusion where you don't really know who to go to, what to do, how you're supposed to manage it. I'd like to be in control of my own life, but I seem to be dependent on other people to give me lots of things that to hopefully make me feel better, but in fact don't make me feel better at all. None of that is your fault. We're just being failed by misinformation and that lack of knowledge and support that's out there. My job, my role and my superpower is making sure that you have the right information, you have the right guidance, you have the right support, and you can just get on with your life. Moving on. Because if you're constantly wondering and worrying about what's happening with your hormones and why you've got that symptom, and should you be bleeding, should you be stressed, should you feel sick, whatever's going on for you, then that just makes it worse. It just makes it worse because worry breeds more worry. And I can tell I'm going off on a tangent. Comment below if you are feeling a familiarity with what I'm saying and you're understanding it from your own perspective, because certainly that's how I felt. That's definitely how I felt all the time. And I struggled to find the help I needed. Therefore, I just went out and learned it myself. So 15, 20 years ago, that's what I decided to do. And I've never stopped learning since. And every day's a school day in the world of menopause, but I pretty much know more than most doctors do about menopause and HRT. So you're in the right place if that's what you're looking for. Okay, keep on track, Jane. Keep on track. So you may think that hormones and hormone replacement therapy are bad. You may already have clicked off this and gone away, but if you come back to this live because you want to hear more, hopefully you will understand that that is not true. I'm not going to give you a big science lesson. I'm very much about let's just learn what we need to learn, move on, get on with our lives. So I can't go into huge detail, but please ask your questions and I will address them soon. But think about this. If you're feeling rubbish, if you're too anxious to function properly, if your mood is low and you're overwhelmed with symptoms right now, something has to change. Something has to change. If nothing changes, guess what? Nothing changes. And the risk is that you're going to stay stuck, you're going to be second guessing yourself and wasting all that time and quality of life trying to figure out what to do. Well, I did all that years ago. Now I know what to do, and that's what I do. I help other people to get on with their lives and to plan the life that they want in the future, because menopause is not the end. Okay? The end is the end of menopause. We're not doing that. What we're doing is that fun bit before, where we actually get to live our lives. And what I don't want you to do is to waste your time, your energy, your brain space, and your money on shit that isn't going to work. So if your cupboards are full of supplements and you don't know what those supplements are for, if you don't know why you're taking them, you shouldn't be taking them. Or you should be asking somebody, why am I taking this? I had one client, bless her, I asked her at the end of our consultation, she was just doing a short one-to-one consultation with me. I said, so it's one of the final questions I generally ask if I haven't already asked it throughout. So are you taking any extra stuff, any supplements? She was on HRT and we were sorting out her HRT. Taking any extra supplements? You know, usually people say, well, I'm taking vitamin D, vitamin B, might be taking a bit of magnesium. So there's usually a few thrown in. And this lovely lady said, yeah, she said, and she reeled them off. She was sort of counting them off. She went, I think I'm taking about 35 of them. And I went, okay, 35. How do you even have time to do that? That is a lot to be taking every day. What are they all? So we went through everything she was taking. Some of them were perfectly standard, perfectly normal, magnesium, omega-3, vitamin B, blah, 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 etc. But then there were other ones, and I said, okay, so I can't even remember what they were now, but I said, so why are you taking that? And she went, I don't really know. And why are you taking that? I don't really know. So I said, if you don't know why you're taking it, one, it's pointless because you've no idea what the issue is you're trying to solve. But two, it might actually be interacting with something else and doing you harm. So let's not do that to ourselves. And it must have cost her an absolute bloody fortune, because supplements are not cheap. I take some supplements, but I take targeted supplements. So I'm very clear about what I need. So I have omega-3, I have a vitamin D spray, I take magnesium, sometimes one type, sometimes another, but I take magnesium. I take collagen. I take my thyroid tablet, my thyroxine tablet, which obviously isn't a supplement. And I think that's it. I think that's it. Occasionally, if I'm poorly, vitamin C. If I'm poorly, I'll up my vitamin C. And if I've had an operation, which I did a while ago, then I will add in zinc, because that's really good for healing. So I knew exactly why I was taking those extra things. It's really important you don't just put any old shit in your body. Let's not do that. It's not going to help. It might give you some temporary relief from, let's say, hot flushes, or you know, temporarily lift your mood, but it also might not. And then it stops you, well, your wallet is a bit lighter, but it stops you really looking into the hormone side of things and how you want to balance that out. Okay, rant over. I can see some of you have commented. I promise I'll address your comments in a minute. So some key things to remember. We need to really understand what's happening. So menopause isn't just about hot flushes. It's hormonal, it's neurological, it's emotional. And when you understand the whole picture about you specifically, not just another random person, you'll stop blaming yourself and you'll start working with your body. A lot of the people I see are in this loop of stress and guilt and blame and upset, and obviously feeling awful as well. So we have to look at the mindset around that and really crack on and get the job done. So if you're looking for no fluff, get the job done, I'm definitely your person. A little remote arm around the shoulder as well, a little cuddle as well, but I'm really here for getting the job done. Avoiding those myths about HRT, which I'll address properly in a second. There's so much nonsense out there that you have to put up with it, and it really is the end, and or you might as well give up work because it's time to slow down. I'm 58. I am moving faster than I've ever moved before. I am absolutely full on. Nobody can tell me to slow down. Don't try and slow me down or shush me. My husband will laugh if he sees this, because things not to say to Jane are calm down, shush your noise. That's something his father used to say. And shush or be quiet or something like that. No, none of that applies. And you shouldn't be looking to slow down either, unless you want to. Just think about what you actually want and stop falling for those myths. And that knowledge is really important for you to be able to do that, of course, knowing who to trust. So supporting your body a little bit like I've just talked about with the supplements. Don't go for the fads. So just, oh my God, all those ads that come up on your feed, just ignore them. Unless you know something is going to work and you know it's been recommended by a friend or somebody you trust, don't go for the fads. It's such a waste of your money and time. And you'll become really overwhelmed with all the stuff that you have to do and that you have to buy and you have to change in your life. Changing lots of different things at once is really not a good idea. When I'm with a client, sometimes there are lots of things that need changing. That might be nutrition, it might be mindset, it might be exercise regime, it might be HRT regime. But we don't change everything at once. We change things one or maybe two at a time, just so we can see what's working, and then the overwhelm doesn't take over. Some things to consider when you are looking at changes, and I've just touched on them a bit, but yes, I'm a massive HRT advocate, of course. Why wouldn't you be? Because it's amazing. But I'm also a nutritionist, so nutrition is top of my list alongside HRT. It's really important that we feed our body with what it needs, of course. And that might be eating something quite different to what you used to eat before you were perimenopausal. When we don't eat properly, what we find is that can mess with the HRT regime as well. So they do bounce off each other quite well or not quite well, depending on how you're eating. So nutrition is important, movement is important, and I often find I don't move enough, and then I get a really upset tummy, a really sore tummy, because I haven't moved enough. And your body needs that movement, apart from the fact you need it for your actual health. It needs it for the daily job it has to do as well. Weight training, excellent to keep our muscles strong, to support our bones. 100%. It's not my area of expertise, but 100% recommend it. I started weight training when I was soon after my hysterectomy, so 2022, and I go twice a week now. I haven't built huge muscles, but I'm considerably stronger than I was, so I feel as if, along with my HRT, I'm doing the best I can for my body. Stress management and sleep are the other two elements, aside from HRT, that I highly recommend that you consider. Sleep is really important. I know we hear this all the time, but I can't function without a certain amount of sleep. Generally for me, it's 7 hours minimum. Women generally need 10 hours sleep a night. I know, who the hell has time for 10 hours sleep a night? But biologically, that's our sort of optimum. But I'm happy with 7. And I recently bought this, which isn't an Aura ring. It's a much cheaper version, but works exactly the same. So before you buy an Aura ring to assess your health and well-being, I would suggest you have a little look around, because the Aura rings are between £400 and £500. This was £55. Works perfectly well. So I noticed that I have a lot of deep sleep. So I was a bit concerned about that, but I've managed to make some adjustments, and that has slightly changed now. It's fine to have a decent amount of deep sleep, but not too much. Other than that, it's just confirmed that I'm healthy. Everything else is good. So, you know, if you've got some the means to be able to do so, maybe get yourself either a watch that will track what's going on for you, or maybe one of these rings, and I think you can get bracelets as well. Not necessary to spend money on those things, but if you want to, if you like to track such things. When you do make changes, whether that's nutrition, movement, stress, HRT, whatever it is, make sure you're consistent. Keep it simple, but also keep it consistent, because if you're not consistent, then your body becomes really confused. And it's I often find that women say, well, well, I didn't feel so good on such and such a day. I felt bad for a couple of days. And I might say to them, well, did anything change? Did anything different on those days? And I can think of one particular client who said, well, no. And I said, did you take everything as you'd normally do? Yeah, I think I forgot to take my HRT that day. And I'm like, okay, there we go. So that's what's happened. There's no harm and no damage. It just means you've had a couple of days feeling shitty because you've forgotten to take your HRT. So we do need to be consistent, and that means being reasonably regimented with HRT specifically, but also with your body will want to know that to expect certain vitamins, minerals, certain amount of movement, and to keep those stress levels to a minimum. Everybody gets stressed. I am usually stressed at some point during the day. Not overly stressed, but I do get quite stressed. I personally thrive quite well on stress, but up to a certain level. Once it gets over a certain level, then I just can't function anymore. So it's worth trying to work out what your stress levels or your optimum stress levels are, because some of us need that to, a lot of us actually need that to boost our ability to function. But you don't want to go over and above that, because then it becomes a health issue. Okay. And none of that, by the way, needs to be done on your own. You can share with your friends, you can share in communities, you can talk to experts, you can become part of a bigger community. All those things make it better, certainly makes you feel more normal. I've made some notes here to remind me at this point to give you a few facts, not sciencey facts, but a few throwaway facts about HRT, because I don't like scaremongering and I don't like fear-based work where people are just trying to frighten you into doing things. However, there are some things like the elephant in the room about HRT that we should be addressing, and I think it's important to address those. First of all, not scaremongering. What is HRT? So HRT, hormone replacement therapy, also known as menopausal hormone therapy, MHT, which I can't quite get my head around, but I think that's going to be the new name for it, is, contrary to popular belief, is actually replacing your hormones when you are peri or postmenopausal, replacing your hormones with plant-based hormones. Yes, they're synthetically made, but they're made mostly from the yam plant. Now, overall, as an overarching comment, I'm going to say HRT is either low or no risk. There, of course, are exceptions to that. So I'm going to just address the elephant in the room, which is what most people want to hear about, which are the risks of HRT. Now, if you use, oh, by the way, little promo, if you buy my book, all of this is in my book, I Choose Menopause, Amazon. If you use an estrogen gel, an estrogen patch, or the spray, the Lenzetto spray, there are a few estrogen gels depending on which country you're in, but in this country, in the UK, there's Sandrina and Estrogel. You might find there's one called Divigel if you're from the States, or similar. So if you use any of those, they are what's called transdermal formats, and that means it goes through the skin. There is no blood clot risk, so anybody that tells you you've got a risk of strokes, heart disease, blood clots when you add in estrogen, that is not correct. That is absolutely not correct in that situation. There is a slightly increased risk of a blood clot, and I mean slightly, almost insignificant, but it's there, if you take the estrogen the HRT tablet form, because of course that's processed differently. It's not transdermal, it doesn't go through the skin. So there was a Newson Health study. I can't remember, it was this year, but I can't remember the month. But they established that estrogen, we are told that estrogen causes breast cancer. But there was we already knew, however, that estrogen doesn't cause breast cancer, but recent study showed that estrogen reduces, I'll repeat that, reduces breast cancer risk by 2.3% in the particular study. It was just one study, but it was a peer-reviewed study. Now, we have known for a long time that when you take estrogen only, so I, for example, only need estrogen. I don't need progesterone because I don't have a uterus. Some people still take progesterone anyway when they've had a hysterectomy. I choose not to. I don't need it. It doesn't really help me at all. If you take estrogen only, when you don't have a uterus, you need progesterone. If you have a uterus, then you have a reduced breast cancer risk. That has been known for a long time, but you will still be told from many avenues that HRT, specifically estrogen, is a breast cancer risk. That is not the case. That is not true. However, back to risks, there is a very small, statistically significant but small risk now shown with the synthetic progesterones or progestins in things like the combined patches or some of the combined tablets and things like the contraceptive pill, that sort of thing. There is a slightly increased risk. You don't always have to have those types of synthetic progesterones. There are lots of different options and lots of different ways to take progesterone. So it's not necessary to have that risk. So if your doctor is saying, I don't want you to have this particular transdermal estrogen with the body identical progesterone tablets, I want you to have the combined patch. Actually, there's a slightly higher risk with the combined patch. Perfectly good combined patches, by the way. Please don't worry about it if you're using those. Still very good, very low risk. But they're not weighing up the pros and cons of the risks. They're showing a lack of knowledge about what HRT does and how the risks and benefits are weighed up. So I've talked about the risks. The benefits, apart from sorting out your menopausal symptoms, the benefits of HRT are reduces breast cancer risk when used appropriately. Also, studies show it reduces colon cancer risk. It also, we know 100% it reduces osteoporosis risk and cardiovascular heart disease risk. And 7 times more women die of heart disease than they do of breast cancer. So that's worth noting. Of course, breast cancer is a terrible disease, but the biggest killer of women is heart disease. So it's important to remember that anything that helps to improve our health in the heart area has to be a good thing. That's just a starting point. And finally, just in terms of benefits, a lesser known benefit of HRT, and I'm talking now about vaginal estrogen, where it could be a cream or a pessary or a ring, with a very low dose of estradiol in it, which replaces the lost estrogen in that area, will stop the recurrence of UTIs, so urinary tract infections, and stop the skin from splitting and becoming sore, and from bladder infections or bladder weakness and bladder urgency. And importantly, many studies are now showing that women in their older years, so a lot of women in care homes, for example, really struggle with UTIs because they don't have any estrogen, because they're not on HRT of any description, which can lead to some really serious results. Most importantly, they can have things like urinary sepsis, which of course is life-threatening. And so women therefore end with really unpleasant things happening to them because they're simply not having the hormones replaced in a very, very simple way. Now, that's not meant to be a scaremongering comment, it's just a fact that we don't have to put up with urinary tract infections, higher risk of osteoporosis, higher risk of heart disease, higher risk of colon cancer. We don't have to have that. We can replace our hormones and we'll be fine. Yeah, it doesn't mean you won't get them. It just means you don't have an increased risk of getting those things. And whatever we can do to help has to be a good thing, eh? So when I was, I suppose my late 30s, early 40s, I used to try to talk to people how I felt. And certainly earlier on, even years before, I struggled with postnatal depression, and it was really difficult because in the 90s and the early 2000s, nobody was interested. There was just no real knowledge, and certainly there was no interweb, no internet, so we didn't really have the same support mechanisms that you can access now. And I used to have, even in my late 30s, early 40s, I used to suddenly feel really anxious in restaurants. If we go out for a meal and I'd suddenly say to my husband, we have to go. I just feel horrible for no reason, absolutely no reason at all. Because I, at that point, didn't really know that I was perimenopausal, and I certainly wasn't being given the HRT that I needed. So I was just all over the place. Constant infections, urinary infections, thrush infections, anxiety. I had no idea what was going on, hence why I needed to join the dots together and start to learn all the things I know now. Another thing that used to happen to me was gut problems. So I used to have quite an upset gut, and then it would range between constipation and the opposite, which seemed to come out of nowhere. Again, low estrogen or fluctuating estrogen makes a big difference to that. It has a big impact because it slows down. Often the low estrogen will slow down the gut motility, so it will everything just isn't going through as quickly. And then when you've got the estrogen going higher, then going lower, and it's sort of all over the place, bouncing all over the place, that can cause gut upset then as well. So over the years, I developed my now trademarked PAST system, or if you're from the south, PAST system. My husband would say PAST, I say PAST, which stands for planning, action, support and time, which is essentially the process that we need to go through to make sure that we know what we're doing with our bodies and what our bodies need. Planning what you're going to do. What, do you want to take HRT? What do you want to do about that? Have you decided that you'd like to see your doctor sooner rather than later? What's the plan? What do you want that plan to be? And actually writing it down. If you've read my book, you'll know I love a bit of stationery. I love to write things down. I highly recommend it, by the way, getting a sexy little notebook, because there's a biological, neurological link between writing something down as opposed to just saying, I'm going to do it. You actually are more likely to do it when you write it down. And who doesn't love a little notebook? Honestly, Ryman's is my favourite store. I love it so much. Roger has to just rush me past it if I go past a Ryman's, because I even like the smell of it, just the smell of those books. I've got, it's not a file of facts, but just look at it. It's gorgeous. Anywho, so the second one in the PAST system is action. So it's really important that you take that action. Please don't just sit around and wait for things to happen for you and to you. It's so important to say, okay, this is what I want to achieve. I know it feels awful, and it sometimes feels scary to go to the doctor, and it can be a bit stress inducing, or to go and see somebody, or to talk to somebody about how you feel and what you want to do with your menopause symptoms. But taking action is really the only way forward. It's not going to happen for you. My job is to give you the confidence and the clarity to be able to do that. And that's when support comes in. So the support's really, really important as well. You might not need support with some things. You might say, actually, I'm all good. I'm not even bothered. A lot of that was where I was coming from, but actually I should have asked for support more. Where you might say, I'm really okay going to the doctor on my own. Or you might say, I'm just going to fall apart at the doctor's. I'm going to take somebody with me. Or take some notes with you. Back to planning, plan your notes, and then you can, that will support you when you go to your doctor's appointment. And I suppose my favourite or the most important for me would be time. We need to give our body time to adjust to any changes. So don't just go, well, I've taken HRT for 2 days, I don't feel better. So it obviously doesn't work for me, which does happen. And a lot of people are told, well, if it doesn't work for you within a week, then HRT is not for you. That is absolutely not true. We just need to give our body time to adjust and then just reassess and come back to it, have a little reassess. What are we doing? What's worked? What hasn't worked? How do I feel? And then move on to perhaps tweaking that HRT regime. But lasting change, which is what we're aiming for, does not come from those one-off tips. It comes from structure, guidance, and support. And in a minute, I will get your questions because I can see I've just got a few questions there. But if I may, I would like to just bring you a little opportunity because I've put my heart and soul into my signature program. And I'm going to just really briefly outline what you'll get, and then I'm going to look at your questions. So the program is called the Menopause Power Program. You've probably heard me talking about it on this page. And it's designed to give you that clarity and confidence that I was talking about, and also to bring you additionally community and the one-to-one support. So there is plenty of one-to-one support in the program, even though it's a group program. And my main aim is to future-proof your menopause plans for years to come. I don't want you to take a program or have a consultation with me and then go away thinking, well, that was fine, but now what do I do? I want you to have a plan, and you will have a plan, and that will last you for years to come. It's not just we're getting better today and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. That's not what I want. I want you to feel well enough and feel like you've taken the action that you can now take control moving forward, if that makes sense. I do like a bit of control. Not that I'm a control freak, but I'm a control freak. So this program would be for you if you were really getting tired of all the confusing advice that I talked about earlier. And I think the most important one for me is if you're fearful of what you can do safely so that you can feel better. So many people I talk to are so frightened to even open the drawer and take out the HRT they've been given by their doctor because they just think it's going to harm them. And it's not going to harm you. You just need to start it and then see how we go, and then change things to suit your own needs. So you'll want to feel in control of your mind and your body. And I want you to feel in control of your mind and your body because that's what I did, and I want the same for everybody else. It's taken me a long time to put this program together, and it's everything that I've experienced, but also everything that is in my head. All the knowledge that I think will help you is in this program. So if you feel ready for that clear evidence and guidance and regular support, this is definitely the program for you. But inside the program, so you know how it's formatted, it's for 3 months, it's 12 weeks. You'll get weekly live group sessions, and I'm delivering those sessions, which will be recorded. They're all recorded in case you can't make it to the live sessions, but the live sessions are really good if you can turn up to them live. Step-by-step resources, practical tools, they'll all be within your portal, which will be in the membership app, which is in the school app. So you'll have easy access to that either on or offline. There'll be a small and private community where you can discuss your challenges privately, of course, and ongoing one-to-one accountability from me. I'm there as not just as your mentor and your coach, but as your cheerleader. So I will be contacting you on WhatsApp saying, how are we doing? How's it gone? Have you made any of those changes? Do you need some support? So I'm living in your world for 3 months, and you'll have me at your disposal to ask those challenging questions rather than just doing a quick consultation with me, which can be really effective, but then that's it, you've gone off to live your life. We need to spend some real quality time together to make those lasting changes. So I'm really looking to move you from confusion to clarity and to feeling supported and just more empowered with, with your menopause symptoms and with what you need to do. So the November cohort starts, come aboard 10th of November. And this is the best opportunity for you to join because I'm opening up a limited number of spaces. I can't offer this to many people because I'm offering 50% off. And there's quite a few freebies in there as well. So if you sign up before the 7th of November, then you'll get the 50% off and the bits and bobs I'm going to outline to you in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to answer your questions. And at the end of this video, end of this live, I'm going to pop a link to book a call with me, not a link to book the program. There's no commitment at this stage, but just to book a call with me so we can have a chat. You can ask me all those challenging questions. I'm totally honest and open in all my calls, and we can just decide if we're a good match and if it's the right program for you. And if it is, let's get you booked in and let's get you started ready for November the 10th at the 50% off, obviously. So I'll just swing back to that in a minute, but let me answer your questions. Christiane. Hello. If you're on high strength 100% Everel and cannot tolerate 300 milligrams of progesterone, but we're absolutely fine on 200 with no bleeding in between periods, what are the alternatives for progesterone? Not keen on the Mirena coil. Well, it's very frustrating to me, this, because it's only last year that they increased the guideline recommendations from 100 Everel or 100 microgram patches and the equivalents needing 300, not 200 milligrams of progesterone. So many women for many years have managed perfectly well on the 200 and didn't need to increase to 300 at the dose you're on. There are alternatives. My question is my statement rather is first, challenge your doctor and say, look, I'm fine. I've got no bleeding, got no thickening of the uterus lining. I'm fine. I don't tolerate the 300. Can I stay on the 200 and have a scan in 3 or 4 months' time just to check everything's okay? That will be my first port of call. Secondly, I understand you don't want the Mirena. You might like to try taking 100 at one end of the day, 200 at the other end of the day, so it's spread out a little bit. Or you might like to ask them for Cyclogest or Lutogest, which is usually well tolerated when you are intolerant to progesterone. I hope that helps, Christiane. Rebecca, hello. I'm 46 and have never been on birth control. The gynae recommended I go on Clara to help with perimenopause symptoms. Reading the prospectus, the side effects sound like what I'm trying to get rid of at the moment, so I'm reluctant to start. What's your view on taking birth control at this late stage? My question is, so I think I know the answer. So they want you to take birth control instead of HRT. I would say no, don't do that, because there is, okay, I'll rephrase that. The better option would be, if you need birth control at 46, you probably do. If you're in a relationship and you don't want to have children, I would suggest you consider the Mirena. I'm going to say that you probably don't want to go on the Mirena because you've not mentioned it, but consider the Mirena coil with a low dose of estrogen if you're perimenopausal. Yes, sorry, you said you're perimenopausal. So a low dose of estrogen, either in a patch, a gel, or the spray, and have the Mirena coil, which gives you the correct amount of progesterone and in a safer format than the pill, than the contraceptive pill, and you will find that it helps with a lot of the symptoms in addition to your estrogen, but also gives you the birth control. If you don't want the Mirena, there's a slightly longer conversation to be had around that, but hopefully that's helpful. Ros, hello. Can heat affect absorption? Yes, simple answer. I'm on holiday at the moment and have been a blubbering fool or an utter witch. Wow. And have started with very dark brown light discharge. Yes, it can. It can affect it. So if it's very hot, Make sure it's not in a direct heat, so make sure it's covered like under your pants, or like if it's a patch, for example. If it's the gel, just try and keep that area out of the sun. If you're getting very hot and sweaty, it is difficult trying to keep it away from direct heat. So don't be sunbathing with it in the direct heat. Just try to be sensible. But yes, sadly, that can affect it temporarily. I'm hesitant to say this. Some people do increase their estrogen dose during that time. I couldn't possibly say whether I'm recommending that or not. Kirsty, I'm not sure what you're responding to there, Kirsty Ann. That was exactly me for 3 years before I started HRT. I think that was probably something I said earlier. So yay for us. Do I find collagen helpful? Well, I won't lie, I do have a little bit of Botox, but yeah, I do find it helpful. And collagen is really good for the gut lining as well. So I find that what I'm doing at the moment, if it's any help, and no, I'm not promoting for any reason other than these are the ones I use. I don't use pure collagen anymore just because it was quite expensive. I mean, there are some great collagens, you know, Absolute Collagen is amazing. It's expensive and it tastes disgusting, but it is good. You know, if you want something that works, it does. So that's Absolute Collagen. The one I use at the moment is actually a mixture of vitamins and collagen, which is Perfectil. You can get it from Boots. It's in a tablet form. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And top tip, order it from Amazon. It's cheaper than buying it from Boots. It's about half price. Mandy, hello. I'm 54. I've been ticking along for the last 2 years using 4 pumps and 2 progesterone. But this spring and summer, I've taken a nosedive, awful mental health, low mood, dreadful anxiety, etc. My estradiol is 202, too low. And I've had osteopenia since 42, started Testosterone. Okay, I don't need to read all of that. You need to increase your estrogen fairly smartish. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't even change from your gel. I just increase it to 3, and then if you don't feel better, increase it to 4. But give it like 4 weeks on the 3. I wouldn't change at this stage to patches unless you find that you're not absorbing the gel. So very quickly, I'd say increase to 3 for 4 weeks, see how you get on. If you're not feeling better, increase to 4. When you've settled on a dose, ask for another blood test, and let's see if your 202 has gone up beyond 250 as the bare minimum. If you're not above 300 on 3 or 4 pumps, then I would suggest you're not absorbing very well and consider going to the patch. I really would need to dig into more detail. Your testosterone, by the way, is low, but you've only just started Testogel, so don't worry. Give it another 6 months, 4 to 6 months on that Testogel. Hopefully that will help. Hope that helps. Kirsty Ann, oh, you're very welcome, Kirsty Ann. Oh, you're welcome, Rebecca. What was that question? Leslie, been held up at work. Can I access a link, as I was really looking forward to this live? Leslie, it will be recorded by Facebook and you'll see it on this page in a minute. I will also download it and probably pop it onto YouTube if that's any help. If you want to follow me on YouTube as an extra little added joy in your life, like you don't see enough of me. Just double check, haven't missed anybody's questions. If I have, I'm sorry, and I will do my best to address that later. So very quickly, because we're running a little short of time now, just to circle back to the program, some of you that have just commented will be perfect for this program. Not here to pressure you, but I'm going to put a link to book a call with me, just to book a call with me at the bottom of this video. You can book that call with me over the next couple of weeks. I've opened my calendar for the next couple of weeks so that you've got some time to spend with me. It's just booking a 15-minute call so we can have a chat. It's not a big old pressured sales call. That's not how I work. This is about me saying, okay, let's talk about what you're trying to achieve. Let me tell you a little bit more about the program. I actually had 2 ladies speak to me who were amazing and said, yeah, absolutely, it's just for me. I had one lady that said, it's not quite the right time for me, and she actually booked a one-to-one consultation and we sorted what she wanted in her situation there and then, because she wasn't quite ready to start the program. So it's absolutely fine. I think it's always worth that conversation. And as we've now got 50% off, I'm probably not going to do 50% off again. It's going up to full price certainly next time. It's a really, really good time if you're considering really getting a handle on your menopause symptoms. And I just can't offer many places at 50% off. I don't know how many places I'm going to offer. I'm going to say 20, but I'm not sure. So if you're interested, please let me know. Just book a call. Let's have a conversation. So the other thing was I wanted to tell you what else is included, which I seem to have now lost. Oh, here we go. Because I'd forgotten. Memory isn't what it used to be. Nothing to do with HRT. So you'll get your 50% off. You'll also get my access to my ebooks and downloads for free, which I normally charge for. And you'll see those for sale on my website, but I would obviously include those for free as part of your bonuses. You will get 3 months of my exclusive Menopause Not Mad membership free of charge, and that's worth around about just under £100 in itself. And most exciting for me, oh no, I'll tell you one more thing, then I'll tell you the most exciting. I'm also going to gift a free download of 3 of my key chapters from my book. Hopefully you'll buy the book, but if you don't, 3 chapters free in a download, which I've prepared. But most exciting for me is my merch. So some of you will have seen that I'm pulling together, I'm working with somebody who's pulling together lots of lovely Menopause Or Not Mad merch. I've had so many people over the years say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do mugs? Why don't you do pens? So I'm pulling together an initial lovely batch of Menopause Or Not Mad merch, and a goodie bag of exclusive Menopause Or Not Mad merch is going to be sent to your house when you sign up for the program in this first group at 50% off. So that to me, that is priceless, because I can't wait to get my hands on it. But that's included, cost you nothing, and you'll have all that written down for you and detailed when you sign up. So the program itself is monthly live group sessions, one-to-one access to me, step-by-step resources and practical tools, a private community, and ongoing accountability. So if this speaks to you, if this resonates with you, just click the booking link that I'm going to pop underneath in a minute, and let's just chat. I'm really excited to talk to you. Let's be honest, I love a chat, but we will make it a focused chat, I promise. We've only got 15 minutes, so come to that chat with your questions and I will answer everything honestly and openly, and hopefully you'll join me on the programme. Thanks for joining me. I can see a load of you are here live, so thank you so much, and let's talk again. See you soon all. Bye.